Who are the 10 most noble characters in all of Dragon Ball? When I say noble, I mean the definition that reads having or showing fine personal qualities or high moral principles and ideals. That's the topic of this video today. I am Geekdom, and I'm joined by the scientist of the Dragon Ball community. He loves it when I say that. Please welcome back Laughing Stock Media, Mike.
Hey guys, it's Mike here from Laughing Stock Media. How's it going?
So what we're doing with this video is we're not going to do a countdown or anything. We're just going to talk about who we think are our top 10 most noble characters in Dragon Ball, and we're going to alternate back and forth. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start here with Mike's first pick. And again, there's no order. We're just going to talk about the characters and why we think they're noble. First one is Bora from Dragon Ball. That's your first pick, Mike. Why?
Well, Bora seems like a very noble character. He and his family, and they've just, for generations, they have existed to protect Korin's tower. They are strong, believers in Korin and maybe Kami too, and they really stand up and they'll take on any comers. And Bora was a very strong, proud man who really would do anything for his son and to help those, who would help them. And he sacrificed his life in the end playing against mercenary Tao just so that he could, protect his son. So, he had a big impact on that whole arc, when they were trying to get the Dragon Balls just to bring him back to life. So really the way he is, the way he regarded himself, the way he acted and was, kind to Goku really made me think that he was a very noble person.
He was the first major character to die in
Yes.
Dragon Ball. And yes, folks, he was a major character during that time. The thing, too, about Bora, and this is kind of, again, we don't really know too much, but I always found it interesting that Bora and Upa lived in the Sacred Karin realm. And I had always thought that if you lived in the Sacred Karin realm, you had to have some kind of special bond with Karin or some kind of respect with Karin. We don't know for sure if Bora ever met Karin before then. Certainly he knows about what happens if you climb the tower, but it always seemed to me that Bora always got special treatment because he lived in the Sacred Karin realm. That's how
Did
I
they
always
ever?
saw it.
I don't remember, but did they say that that Bora was never able to actually climb to the top, or what? What did they say about that?
I think they did say that, but I don't remember either off the top of my head. I think they did say that. He
He
just
was
never
pretty
made
strong,
it.
so
Because the only one to never make it was Roshi. And then it was Goku and Tao.
and Tao just ran up the thing.
Like a spider.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
that was
funny.
awesome. All right, so my first pick here is main timeline Gohan. I feel that Gohan has always been a very noble character. He wants to do, he's a bit of a mama's boy, but he wants to do what's right. He doesn't like to fight at all, and he certainly, will fight, however, if he feels like the Earth or his own family members are in danger. And we see this time and time again with Gohan's development. He goes from being a very annoying snot-nosed brat to actually caring about the fate of the future and fighting the fate of the universe, or fighting against something bad happening to the universe. So I think main timeline Gohan's very noble. Not to mention he became a superhero so he can protect the innocent people too. So Gohan has always been a real good guy. Gohan, unlike Goku, who's had moments of being selfish, I don't remember Gohan ever being selfish at all in the entire series. So Gohan, to me, is a perfect example of somebody who's very noble in Dragon Ball.
Absolutely. I mean, the only time I could think where he was kind of selfish is when he was torturing Cell when he turned into a Super Saiyan 2. But that's about it. I mean, he might have given up fighting a little bit later on, or not really trained anymore. But I mean, if it wasn't peacetime, I assume that he would have just stuck right at it and just continued so he can help everyone that he could possibly need to help.
Well, except for the fact that he fell off completely after the Buu saga. I mean,
Yeah.
who knows? Now, before we go any further, I do want to say that, yes, I did borrow this topic from Unreal Entertainment Gaming. Alex did this first with Paul. And I just want to say, Alex, you've taken enough of me and Dino's topics, so I figure I'll get you back just this once. So I actually texted him beforehand. I told him I was going to do this. So he said it was no problem. So
Yeah.
the next pick that you came up with is Master Mutaito.
Yes, Master Mutaito is definitely someone I believe would be a very noble person. And Master Mutaito, of course, was the one who trained Master Roshi and Master Shen, or the Crane Hermit, not to use the dub. And really, the thing is that, I mean, this is a guy who was really, he was someone who was the last remnant to fight against King Piccolo or Piccolo Daimao to actually hold him off. And in the end, he came up with this amazing technique where he would actually sacrifice his life for the best of humanity to finally seal away Piccolo Daimao once and for all. And that to me is an incredibly noble gesture to give everything you have, to give your entire life and everything that you are to take this guy out who is destroying all of humanity and to remain in that resolve until the end. And so that's a very noble thing, in my opinion, and a very noble way to go out.
And a lot of his nobility also came from the anime filler. You know, obviously the episode where Goku goes back in time and meets Roshi and Mutaito, one of my favorite episodes, you know, ever. And here we see Mutaito interacting with Goku and always wanting to teach him the right way. So Mutaito definitely came off like a guy who really was a genuine good guy.
Yes, definitely.
My next pick is Goten, and the reason why I'm picking Goten is because Goten just comes off like the most innocent character ever. We don't see too much of Goten. Obviously, GT Goten's a different story, but Kid Goten, the Buu Saga, the canon Goten, to use that word, very respectable in the tournament. He was very humble. Trunks cheats pretty much, or goes back on his word. He forgives Trunks. I really, really like Goten. Doesn't get too much development, but Goten just comes off like a real innocent kid. He doesn't want to hurt anybody, but he knows he's got that latent power, just like his older brother. So I've always felt that Goten was very, very noble, and we really never see him do anything selfish at all. I mean, hell, the first episode of Super, Goten and Trunks are going out there trying to get Videl a gift, and that's, you know, just real sweet shit right there.
Absolutely. And then he turns into a creepy pervert. But, you know.
Yeah, well, that's GT Goten, but yeah.
Absolutely. He's got to take after someone in that show, and I guess he decided to take after Roshi.
Right, well, so did I. Now, your next pick is a surprising one, but when you really dig into it, it makes sense. Vegeta.
Yeah, so for my pick, I decided to pick Vegeta. And a lot of people will be like, well, Vegeta's a dick. He's murdered tons of people. I mean, like, how could you possibly pick this dude? But Vegeta, honestly, is a character who had arguably the best arc in the entire series. He turned from this evil, ruthless person who murdered tons of people, you know, just to better himself or for fun, into someone who really cared about his family and who actually had friends. You know, people who he used to fight to the death are now his best friends. And, you know, this person who, at this point, you know, especially in the Buu Saga, for example, Buu Saga really developed Vegeta so much because in the beginning of that saga, he knew he would go to hell. Like, he wanted to, he was still very strong in his pride and his ideas, but he still loved his family. And he just looked at this, and he looked at this creature and he said, I messed up time and time again. I'm sorry for everything I've done. It's time for me to actually, you know, sacrifice myself, even if I have to go to hell to stop everything I've done, and, you know, to actually atone for what I've done in my life. So to me, that, you know, that he earned that sort of purity of heart at that point in the series, and he became a very noble character through those deeds and through making up for all of his past ills.
Yeah, he definitely became noble, but he certainly was not noble when we first saw him. And he was kind of a douchebag throughout most of the series, but he did redeem himself.
Yeah. I mean, he was a part of nobility, but, you know, not noble until later on.
Yeah, it's a different definition. Now, my number 3 is Kaio-sama, a.k.a. King Kai. Now, you might be wondering, why did I pick Kaio-sama? Well, the thing about Kaio-sama that stood out to me is that Kai, even though he's a god, you know, he's supposed to be unbiased. He's supposed to be someone who doesn't get involved. And because of his relationship that he builds with Goku and with all the Earthlings, you can clearly tell that he actually cares about the future of the, you know, of the universe, of his galaxy and of the Earth, because he is always helping Goku out. Even though, you know, again, maybe he shouldn't. Maybe he should be unbiased. He certainly recognizes the difference between good and evil, and that's why he kind of tells, you know, Goku stay away from Frieza. And, you know, he knows these things knowingly, but he still helps out. So I like to put him in there because really, when you look at it at the end of the day, Goku probably should have never even learned the Kaioken. Kaio-sama should have said, I'm not getting involved, but he got involved. And if it wasn't for Kaio-sama teaching Goku the Kaioken, among other techniques, there's no way they would have survived that fight with Vegeta and Nappa. So that's my number 3.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really great pick. And to be honest, like, I mean, in the end, I plan to talk about him in my own series. Were they helpful in the future? And the thing is, I think that, he is arguably the most important side character in the entire series because of just how much this guy helps. And, people would not have survived if it was not for his help in pretty much every arc. So, I mean, that guy is just incredibly important and crucial to the entire story.
Your number 4 or whatever is Piccolo.
Yes, Piccolo is someone who, kind of like Vegeta, started out as evil. He started out as Piccolo Daimao, and then he became this whole new character in Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z. And he started out as evil, but even from the beginning of Dragon Ball, and like late Dragon Ball and then early Dragon Ball Z, like he helped people, like he helped to save that mother and child from a falling debris in Dragon Ball. And then in Dragon Ball Z, he helped his worst enemy in Goku to team up to defeat Raditz. And then after that, he raised his son. And it seemed like he actually started to know compassion and affection while he was raising him. And then, of course, the character development began. And Piccolo really developed into this very noble, caring character who would sacrifice himself for Gohan and for other people if need be. And really was, especially after his merger with Kami, because Kami was very noble too. Kami, the god of the earth.
Yeah,
And
he had to be because he exhausted all the evil out of him to make Piccolo Daimao.
absolutely. So you combine those two factors, and Piccolo really became more stoic, more steadfast and staunch. And he really was someone who, he even gives up when he fights Kaioshin. He even says, I respect this guy too much, not to mention he's stronger, but I respect him too much, and I'm just going to help him. I'm going to aid him no matter how I can because of his hierarchy. And someone selfish and evil never could do that. So that's why I think that Piccolo is one of the most noble characters in the entire series.
Yeah, and another character like Vegeta with a great arc. I mean, his arc happened a lot quicker and a lot sooner, but he definitely had a great arc. And after that arc, man, even with like the Namek stuff when he came back to life to fight Frieza, he pretty much was a baby face. I mean, really.
Absolutely. He became one of the most powerful characters in the show for a little period of time, so that was definitely big too.
Yeah, no question. My number 2 or my number 4 that is Future Trunks. And Future Trunks, I picked him because yes, he can be a little bit of a victim sometimes, but Future Trunks, I've always felt, is a really, really strong willed person. He lived through a future that was damn near hell, and he still persevered. He still wanted to go through time and save, even though it wouldn't affect his future. He still wanted to go back there and save another future. And of course, he had ulterior motives as well. He wanted to train with Goku eventually and with Vegeta. And of course, he wanted to, one of the things he says, he wants to bring Goku back to the future with him, which we never saw, but
Yeah.
Trunks still got strong enough to like fight them, fight the future 17 and 18 at the end of the saga. But I've always felt that Trunks is extremely noble. He actually gets mad he has that weird idol worship for Vegeta, but he still gets mad at him whenever Vegeta doesn't try to like save Bulma and whenever he's being selfish. Future Trunks comes off like a very selfless person. And he's always trying to do good and do right. So to me, he might be the most noble character. I mean, he's just he comes off just very humble and just very likable. Like if Trunks was a real guy, Future Trunks, he'd be very, very likable.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing with Future Trunks is really, he definitely is selfless. He loved, he really wanted to love his father, and he really wanted to, come to know him. And he held back and caused issues because of the fact that, well, arguably because he didn't want to lose his father's respect. But I think that there's also nobility in that as well. I mean, Trunks is the one who is arguably the most important character in the series. If he did not come to the Earth, everyone would be dead. Everything would be held.
Well, I actually would say it's Bulma because she made the damn time machine.
Well, yeah, but the thing is, Bulma didn't go back in time and do all of these different things. Trunks did. Like, Trunks was the one who was willing to go back in time and arguably just die going back to a time, where the androids come again.
The Kyle Reese of Dragon Ball, right?
Yeah, so it might have been a one-way trip for all he know, kind of like Kyle Reese. So, the thing is, it's just, Trunks is a very selfless, caring character, and the only negative about him is that he was underutilized because, he never came back when, it would have been nice to see him come back again, like he said at the end of that arc, oh, I'm going to go visit again. But, he was just a great character, and it was really nice. And my own character ties into that.
Yes, your final pick is future Gohan.
Yes, and I feel that future Gohan is arguably the most noble character in the series as well because
Really?
first off, he trained future Trunks.
Yes.
But the thing is, I mean, Gohan essentially helped to raise this Trunks afterwards. Like we see in the actual history of Trunks anime, Gohan is the one who carries Trunks away after, the fight with the androids where everyone's essentially killed, if I remember correctly. Um Gohan is really this character who just like he's so very he's just trying to be like his father in a time where he just can't seem to be like it. He's trying to fight these androids. He's trying to bring a better future, but he just can't do it. Like no matter what he does, and no matter how hard he tries, but he does not give up. And he's trying to raise this kid to make him strong like him, to try and make him the hope of the universe in case, he can't handle it. And after he loses his arm, it seems like he's just going to selflessly give his own life, maybe try and take one of the androids with him when he does, and let Trunks take over. And I think that's an incredibly noble thing. And, even though he fails, the thing is that all of his intentions are so
Yeah,
pure of
he tried
heart.
to protect Trunks too. Yeah, he really is a good guy, and it's such a bummer. You're right, it is a bummer.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, honestly, future Gohan is the Gohan that I had always thought Gohan was supposed to turn into at the end of the Cell games because, basically everything was thrust on him. Vegeta quit fighting, his father was dead and staying dead, so Gohan was the one with the power and realized he had to have that responsibility. And I feel like this version of Gohan is even more noble than the actual Gohan from the main timeline because of all the stuff he went through, and despite that, he's still hanging in and he still will give his life in the end, just like his father did in his own timeline. So I feel like future Gohan would definitely have to be my number one for most noble character in the series.
Well, remember, we're not doing a top 10, but I
Well,
see it
in either
still.
case, I'm going to tell you he's number one.
Yeah,
Take
because
that.
my number one is actually a main timeline Gohan, so go
Yes.
figure. But my last pick, though, is actually somebody who I think is underrated and becomes more noble as the series goes on, and that's Krillin. Krillin Akudidin is my number one, or my, not my number one, my last pick. We see him first come in Dragon Ball. He's kind of a little bit of a dick, little selfish, but as the series progresses, he kind of grows a very good bond with Goku, and he kind of accepts the fact that he's never going to catch up to Goku, but it doesn't mean he can't try and just get better himself, and there are times when he tries to get better himself. Krillin always tries to do the right thing, even though sometimes it's at the behoost of what should be the right thing. Of course, the biggest example of that is when he got the remote control to kill 18 and he didn't do it. Obviously, that was him being selfish in that the earth is on the line, bro, and you're over here with a crush. But the thing is, he didn't want to hurt her. So there's something to that.
Yeah. I mean,
He,
even in the end, he had, when he had the dragon, he could have done something like, could you kill the androids? Like, even though he might not have known it would work, but the thing is that, he wanted them to live normal lives. He tried to turn them back into normal people.
yeah.
And, like, he's just a very, like, after Dragon Ball, he just does everything to help other people. He never tries to do anything to help himself other than that situation.
Exactly, and that's why I think he's very noble. He always wants to be Goku's buddy. He always wants to be there for Goku and for Gohan. Because I like how in early Dragon Ball, really, if you look at it, Krillin and Dragon Ball Z, Krillin and Gohan are the team. Like, they team up against Vegeta, team up on Namek. I really like that. I like that Gohan inherited Goku's spot from Dragon Ball. I really enjoyed that, and Krillin got a whole lot more screen time. If you really think about it, even though Krillin started in Dragon Ball, he got way more screen time in Z.
Yes.
Way more. Yeah, he was way more important. So that's my last pick for most noble characters. Who do you think is the most noble characters, or what's your picks for the most noble characters? Let us know in the comment section below, and stay tuned because there's a lot more to come in the future.
I think Android 16 is the most noble. Fuck all of you people, you sissies. Now get down and give me 10 billion.